Damn, look at all these old photos. That's from Flickr. If you go on Flickr, I'm Garbage Gangster on Flickr. Look at that old picture. Look how small my collection was. Toys I don't have anymore too. In fact, I don't have any of those. I don't have any of those. That's the PD I traded. The first one I traded, then I got a different one back later. I got him, I think. Wait, do I have a green? Have all those. Yeah, today we're going to be looking at the customs. What are those? Oh, those have to be aquas. They just look funny. I was about to say I don't have some of those Novos. Yeah, guys. So today we're back in this box, and we saw the commons, and now we're going to look at all the customs. And I had shown some of these earlier in the Mystic box, miscellaneous box. So let me just remind you. Now these are custom cheap toys as well, or just custom figures that are in sort of a cheap toy style. This thing is a big item. It's around 14 inches here. Really way too big for my liking. I just really don't have places to store this kind of stuff. But I just wanted this at the time. And I see we have Mark's little logo here. But this is definitely some sort of like cheap toy, custom kind of item. Death Star Donald. These are cheap toy customs as well. Super cool. They tried to make them look like cheap toy baggies. The most unfortunate thing is actually what the toy inside is literally this big. It's like a Funko almost. But the bag is super cool. Really just beautiful. And I think I have 4 of those. Also, the other day we looked at these. These are from Colombia. I'll open these real quick. They're actually really pretty. And this guy is still selling them. Don't ask me where. I don't know. I mean, I bought them off IG actually. But he made these cheap toys. Not some of my, definitely almost none of my first choices for characters. But definitely glad to see this guy. I would have never made him a cheap toy, but he looks really good in cheap toy form. It's always cool to see the Tolic character. We just don't have many of those in cheap toy form. But Petey's arms look weird. This little guy's a little ridiculous. But the rest of them are pretty good. This is another one, cheap toy kind of custom item. Made to look like a Kenner Star Wars figure, but instead it's, you know, Ashcan Andy. I got this one off of eBay. I believe it was $150. This guy had made them for the Comic-Con at the time. I don't know if it was the San Diego one. It's one of the cons. And he did not make very many of those. Actually, and I also showed you this on a different day. Remember the today is custom cheap toy day, so that's why I want to show some of these again. I just want to have one video that has all the custom stuff. But this guy is on eBay, and he makes, I mean, they're like mannequins, but he'll, this is called kit bashing. Remember, kit bashing is when you take a toy that exists already, or toys that exist already, and you cut them up in pieces and you reconstruct them like a Frankenstein kind of, or the idea like that. And it's called kit bashing, and you make a new mold of it and you make them as your own toy. So this was probably like a goat toy that was cut the horns off of, put on a Nasty Nick mannequin's head, put on a Cyclops body mannequin. Then he took a muscle toy, you know, the pyramid sunshine muscle toy, and cut part of the pyramid off, cut the head off, and then made the base of Montezuma here. And these are some other cheap toy customs. Again, this is in a different quitting GPK video I showed already. I did want to snag him out of here though, to talk about in a minute. But yeah, these are all custom cheap toys as well. All right, so I'm not going to go back all through all this, but are we caught up? I think we're about caught up. Let's see. Oh, and there was a guy who made these custom mannequins. Basically, he just recast mannequins in his own plastics, and I don't know what he did, honestly. I think he painted them somehow. All right, so yeah, we're caught up, and so we're gonna look at the rest of. Let me move all this shit. All right, now we can look at what we haven't seen yet. All right, so obviously this is the good shit, right? All right, so the other day we saw the Nasty Nicks by Muscle Things. I told that story, and guys, I was not okay after that I made that video. I really just felt really sick to my stomach. I hope I did that story a little justice. But yeah, these again are by Muscle Things. He's no longer alive. And if you want to hear that story, go to a couple of the videos before this one and I tell that story. But yeah, as far as custom cheap toys, it really doesn't get much better than Alex Muscle Things. They're just incredible. And he would sometimes cast the original ones. And so this is just a recast in bright, super bright, beautiful neon pink rubber. All right. And also I showed you the big Nasty Nicks. He made them 3 times as big, or maybe 4 times as big as the regular ones. And he even made my fantasy figure, which is a black one in large. This is one of my favorite cheap toys of all time, the black Nasty Nick. All right. I still think I'm kind of reviewing here because we kind of already saw these, didn't we? And don't forget that Alec also made these blisters. Like not all of them came in one of these, but sometimes he would issue them in these. Actually, one of these has the toy still in it. Yeah. Yeah, I've actually never opened this. That's in a heat-sealed baggie. But that's, you know, like a peach or a flesh tone. And I don't have him in flesh tone out here. That's my flesh tone one. This is one of the first ones he made. And he also made this custom box, Bukimi-kun Japanese-style box. And this originally came with, I believe it was 4, it was the neon ones like that. Yeah. Actually, Actually, I think it was a purple. Yeah, that's it. All right. All right, so what haven't we seen? Let me move all this shit. Oh, yeah, and you remember White Mr. T. This was something Alec made me. He was going to issue this, but then he died. So I actually have the one prototype. I'll organize that later, I guess. All right. Yeah, I kind of like this idea of having a box right here. All right, new shit, or just stuff we haven't seen before, yeah? All right, we're going to look at the second... Well, I can't say that, can I? I was going to say the second greatest custom cheap toy artist. No. There's no reason to even put them in tiers like that. These are people who are doing their best, right? So this is by Uraeus. Uraeus was a part of the customized era. This was an era in cheap toys from 2010 to always ended around 2014 to me, when GPK went to social media. You know, when it came to Facebook, you started seeing less of these people making the cheap toys, the custom cheap toys. But this is his fantastic, unbelievable Roy Bot. This was hand created and then cast in really wonderful colors. What's cool is Alec started helping Al. His name is Al, the guy. Uraeus, his name is Al. A dear friend of mine, too. We actually are working on a project together currently. But Alec helped Al actually cast some of these. So I have some of Uraeus's toys in Alex's material. So we'll see some of those as well. But yeah, his Roy Bot is definitely one of Al's greatest custom cheap toys. Just look at the undercutting. Look at the detail. I wish I had a green one. You know, green cheap toys always show the best detail. This one's doing a pretty good job. Yeah, just incredible. Okay, so that's Uraeus's Roy Bots. So I bought some extras of those because it's such a great looking toy. Yeah, here's some more of my favorites from Al. Yeah, we got to start here. Fucking Greaser Greg cheap toy. Good Lord. That's why, like a second ago, when I was like saying, I was going to say like Al's like the second greatest. No, that's absolute bullshit. I just misspoke. I mean, I was just trying to say that during this era, it just seemed like Alec had the best materials and he was the best caster. But you know, Alec, I told you this. Alec did not actually make Nasty Nick. He had someone else make Nasty Nick. So Alec was just a caster. Now Al here, he's an actual sculptor. So yeah, I totally fucking misspoke, or was going to misspoke. I don't know. But I'm just, you know, it's kind of hard to talk about. I don't usually talk on camera about cheat toys. First time. So, yeah, it's fucking incredible. We're seeing Roy Bot, who looks absolutely perfect. And I think I like Greaser Greg even better. That's unbelievable. Good Lord. You're looking at his Stone Sean, obviously. This was the first one he made. He made him in Well, I had asked him if he would just make him in, like, you know, like on Stone Sean. Actually, I have him over here. Let me grab him real quick. All right, you remember that thing Tom sent me the other day? Yeah, so if you look at, you know, Stone Sean, and he's been, you know, that's pretty a lot of saturation, right? He's not that bright on the card, but, you know, I kind of asked Al if he would just start with that concrete color. And I even talked about in that other video how this might even be ashes. Maybe it's like marijuana, you know, cigarette ash. He might not be made of stone, though it does say Stone Sean, but still there is sort of this indication that this could actually be a statue of ashes. But anyway, we have him in this ash color, and look how well Al carved him. And then also keep in mind, these guys are having to work at a cheap toy size. Who was better? The designer in Hong Kong who made Graffiti Petey? Was he a better sculptor than the artist who made Stone Sean? No, he's not. So there is a lot of value with this. We're seeing these guys nowadays surpass what we had as kids. Holy fucking shit. Here we have charred Chad in the most beautiful color, right? This metallic green is just perfect for this character. Look how he had to put a car under his butt to make it support the weight of the figure. Guys, I told you in another video, you know, we all have cards. You know, Garbage Pail Kids is a card line. It's a trading card line. That's where we all started. I even told you about the day I remember when I saw them in the courtyard after lunch. It's cards, you know. But to me, I resonate more with this. I just like seeing them in 3D form. I would much rather have this than a trading card of Greaser Greg. I think this is a better representation of Greaser Greg. I think he should be not on a card. I think he should be in a toy form. And we get to see the back of Greaser Greg. Al had to make this up. Oh, he has blue jeans on. He's got pockets. Here we see Uraeus' logo. It's just incredible. I think they're making cases for Garbage Pail Kids, especially some of them. They should be toy form. They're better represented. Not all of them. There's some figures that look better in toy form than on a card. Does that make sense? I was kind of making that point earlier. This guy in Columbia, and by the way, I'm not talking about Columbia, South Carolina. I'm talking about the country. He's way down there, wherever it is. But anyway, South America, I guess. But anyway, I don't know that these look very good in 3D form. That's what I meant with this one. But there's a case here that some figures, some Garbage Pail Kids characters should be made three-dimensionally, that they're better represented in the round. This one's very weird. We got Alien Ian, right? Here, Al, this is the same guy we're talking about here. He took a lot of artistic licenses, liberties to make this. He's almost in a cartoon form. But how beautiful is that? Look at the damsel there. Crazy undercutting here. Imagine having to cast this. Al is pulling these out of the mold. These are one mold. These are not two. This girl is not made separately and glued on. It's one mold. One pull, too. It's not... So Al is Uraeus Al, whatever, you know. He's got a couple names. So he's a caster too. I mean, obviously, he's good at casting. It's just, so to my point earlier, I'm telling you that Muscle Things, you know, Alec, the guy that died, his rubber, his material, I'm saying that this is a much higher quality than what Al is making his toys out of. But then on the other hand, you know, this guy here, he made this by hand. He carved this by hand, and he's casting it the best he can. He's doing it, you know, a fair job, yeah. All right, that's Alien Ian. Here he is in orange or neon orange. Beautiful. Weird. You know, not as real, not as we say, card accurate as the Roy Bot, as the fucking incredible Greaser Greg. Not as card accurate as Stone Sean or even, you know, Charred Chad here, but still great, right? I mean, just cool. I don't need to see the card when I'm enjoying this toy. When I'm holding this, when I have this on display, I don't need to see Outer Space Chase card right next to it to appreciate. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's good on its own. It's fine in this style. But this was one of his first ones, or kind of first ones. So you can tell he still had a way to go. This is Snake Jake. You're talking about a character that a lot of people don't care about. The card, you know, the Snake Jake card, you might not even know it exists. But look at the toy. It's fucking incredible. Now, this toy was created to go with the fan set, the Farsi fan set. A lot of people don't know that, but the original fan set, the Farsi one, you know, the very first fan set, the one that's worth like $1,500 or whatever. This was made to go along as a freebie with the fan set. But Al couldn't get these out in time because he had to fucking sculpt this shit. And then it was all up to him to cast them. But anyway, he couldn't get them out in time, so it wasn't released with the fan set. And guys, we are not done with Al. He did so many amazing custom cheap toys. I hope that I'm making you a fan. Maybe you don't care for the original cheap toys. Yeah, they're a little... I mean, after looking at this shit, it does kind of make the original ones look cheap. I mean, really. All right, let's look at some more Uraeus, Al. This is Murray Christmas. This is Al's very first sculpture he ever tried. It was made for Christmas 2011, I believe it was, or 2010. I can't remember, but I could look it up. He originally was made in green, and then later he made them in different colors. Stunning, fucking stunning. These are the light bulbs, if you didn't know. It's basically a Christmas tree character, kind of, you know, being held together by Christmas lights. Yeah, you can see this one a little better. Beautiful, stunning. This is his first one. He did a really good job. Now, we will see some that he didn't do a good job on, and it is what it is. I like this one as well. These are all by Al, okay? We're looking at his custom cheap toys. This is Mad Mike, yeah. By the way, if you're wondering why Greaser Greg's chain is on his head, that's because if this was separated or like out here, it would break off or something. You know, when you're making toys, you have to attach things to solid forms, and you know, and plus it's hard to cast like skinny little appendages. But yeah, he's really nice too. He stands up surprisingly well, typically. I'm not on a flat surface, but yeah, I can see the camera. It's really dark. Sorry about that. Yeah, but he looks pretty good. The proportions are a little, tiny bit wonky. Another thing, he doesn't quite match the size. He just feels a little big. I mean, Roy Bott's a mech, you know, he's probably bigger than a regular character. But anyway, it is what it is. So we're seeing Al struggle a little bit with consistency of the sizes of the characters. That's because it's one man, you know, learning a craft on the job. This is Valerie Vomit. You can see how the figure is a little stiff, a little, you know, static there. Not the best, you know. Still really good though. I mean, it's a great toy. Not one that I'm going to rainbow or buy a bunch of colors for, but still, you know, B plus or B. Fat Matt. This is an early one. You know, you can tell the growth. He kind of started with these, and then he moved towards some of these other ones. Yeah, Fat Matt there, holding his ice cream. Oh yeah, and there's another Mad Mike. We'll put him in that pile. All right, let me get organized real quick. Yeah, you can kind of see which ones I prefer because I buy extra ones, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with these either. They're really cool, and we still got some more to look at. All right, these are also by the same artist. And I talked about this other day. So 2 of these are by Muscle Things, and I can tell because they're the beautiful ones, like this one. Look at the difference in material. Look at the difference in the softness. And this one, they're made out of rubber. They're not hard plastic. So yeah, these were made by Muscle Things, but the design of Cracked Crystal was made by Ow. That's another one by Muscle Things. Look at the quality. You can just tell a Muscle Things. Stunning material. Just heavenly. But then we see Owl try to do the same effect. He's not as good. And that's why Muscle Things toys are so prized, even when he's casting other people's stuff, because they look so incredible. Here's another Cracked Crystal. This is not by Muscle Things, obviously. Had it been by Muscle Things, it would have been of this quality. I'm talking about the material. But it's still great, you know. It is what it is. Here's another Cracked Crystal, slightly different, kind of a little trans orange there. All right, but anyway, so yeah, these are not, you know, Al's best work. Here we have Toothy Ruthie. The major problem is this should have been more pronounced and detailed. It should be like a tube of toothpaste or something. Here's his Exploring Norman. Again, it's sort of in that stiff, straight, static, super rushed, sort of like Valerie Vomit, you know. Which you could say, I mean, it's sort of like the original Cheap Toys. They were kind of plain, not much movement. Oh, here's Toothy Ruthie again. You can see her a little bit better. Yeah, so this is okay. It's a little messy, but mainly to me, this part should have been worked out a little better. Maybe even this part. The body, a little unfortunate. The back really super plain. You got to do more on the back. Here we see Cyclops. He looks better stood up. I'll show you. The biggest problem with Cyclops is they made a mannequin after Al made his. So after he made this, then Topps came along and made the mannequin Cyclops, which blows this out of the water. That's always the risk. Here's Wendy Winston. I kind of like this one. It's problematic because Wendy Winston can't stand up. So it's kind of weird to have a toy that doesn't properly display like it needs to. It should probably be like this. But there's no way to get him like this. So the artist should have made a stand or something for him. You just can't leave that up to us. It's an incomplete concept. Does that make sense? Al's worst toy is his dad Ted. It's horrendous, ugly, super bad. It's one of his first. You can tell he just was not trying hard enough. Armpit Brit. Fair character to try. You know, head's a little big, yeah. I mean, it's pretty good. It's got issues, okay? I would put her... Let me move him down. I would put her up towards this pile. If we start putting these in order of, greatness or whatever. I like Cracked Crystal. I always liked that one. So I'll put her over here. Yeah, I think Armpit Brit holds up pretty well. Head's big, but it's okay. And we looked at those. Okay, Bad Breath Seth. Custom cheap toy. I will say I kind of like how he looks through the camera better than in person. It's funny how Cheap Toys does that. Sometimes they look better in photos. I'm telling you, it's not really good. Here's his original Bad Breath Seth, his first try. Let's put them up together. He should have never let this one get out. He let his prototype get out. And you can tell that he was doing this one with this weird dead Ted around the same era right at the beginning. So it's amazing he went from this to this level to this level. This is the first one he produced to sell to that level. And have you seen his new ones? Yeah, he's got some that have leaked on Instagram. This one's one of his good ones, I think. It's Ashcan Andy. Really happy to have this clear example. Haven't seen another one of those. I would definitely put Ashcan Andy up towards the top. You know, he's a little small. He was done in this era when he was kind of working smaller because he was trying to get him in cheap toy size. But eventually he abandons that and he started working in a slightly larger style, which he was more comfortable with and the proportions click better with. Here's Clark Shark cheap toy. I like him. The tail is bad, right? But he's supposed to be seen from the front. I would rework the tail. That's something I know he can do. Probably won't do. It kind of works from this angle, I guess. But when you get in this zone, it starts looking bad. But yeah, I always thought this was a pretty good try there. I actually would put him next to Armpit Brit. All right. I do have some of Al's new ones. He has not officially sold these yet. You can see I have tons of this one. He sent me his trials and errors. But yeah, so we're going to be releasing a dinosaur. Or he will be releasing it. Or we will be releasing it. Fucking stunning. Absolutely a work of art. She does stand. This one I don't think stands because the feet were miscut. But I do have, I'm not going to go through all these, but I do have some that stand fine. They stand just fine, which is amazing. She looks a lot like, or she reminds me of Thin Lin. You know, a skeleton cheap toy character, basically. And so I'm really excited about these coming out really soon. And they'll be in all kinds of colors. But I had asked them to make them in bone color to match the theme. Here is Clark Kent or Nat Nerd. You can tell which era this is from. You can just tell aesthetically it belongs in whatever period of design that was. All right. I'm looking over here. Oh, I got some more. And it looks like we'll have a different artist in here as well. We're going through my custom cheap toy collection. Not sure why this is in there. All right. Oh, good. These are some of the new ones I was talking about. All right, let's take a look. I mean, not this one, but in here. Here we have another stunner. Stone Sean. Who will be in the new cheap toy, the new release. To be determined. Oh, and there's another one of the dinosaurs. Let's see if this is one of the ones that stand. I don't know, the feet look kind of wonky on this one. No, but she does stand. Oh, and there's another Jake, Snaky Jake. Looks really good in that peach color. Let's put him over here with the other ones. All right, here's a new one. Joe Blow. You will be seeing this fall, hopefully. Hopefully in yellow, hopefully in blue, hopefully in bright red. Hopefully in gold, hopefully in beautiful colors. I really like this. You know. I'm not going to say a bad thing about it. I think I don't, you know. I would push Mad Mike to the side. Or maybe even move them down. I'd put Blowjo around here. Ash Can Andy's really working for me there. Alright, here's another one you'll be seeing very soon. Thanks Gavin. It's the Thanksgiving cheap toy theme. There's going to be a holidays sub-theme going on in the new release. And this will be for the Thanksgiving theme. Really nice. All right. We got a lot more to look at, okay? So hang with me. I'm making sure I don't have any more Al Lambright stuff. I feel like I do. I just don't know where they're at. Okay. At the moment. All right. But anyway, here's another cheap toy that was in here. This is not by any of these people. Completely... I'm going to take him out of here. Completely made just by a fan. You know. Super happy to have this. This was a one-off. And I remember when this guy posted this on GPK Underground a long time ago. And this thing just randomly came up on eBay. Just out of the blue. And I snatched that thing up. Duncan. What's his name? Pumpkin Duncan. But yeah, for a fan cheap toy custom, he's great. He's really great. And I think he makes a really big case for making this as a real cheap toy. And don't forget, Pumpkin Duncan, I believe his name is actually on. His name is actually listed on the original wafers. There he is. Duncan Pumpkin. And I was telling you, I think my theory is they were going to make these characters later, and they didn't get around to it because of the trial, the lawsuit. Because remember, this is the lawsuit that caused them to stop making cheap toys, and that's why it was given to the Canadian company to make Series 2 cheap toys. And by the way, we haven't seen my Series 2. We'll see those tomorrow. All right, let's keep going. All right, yeah, we have a different artist here. Looks like Eric Nia. Oh, that's not a cheap toy. That's a critter made in candy corn designer rubber. Now, Eric does make some characters. He's kind of more like a caster to me. I consider him more of a caster, sort of like Alec. But yeah, that's great. These are mixed in. Sorry, that's a Muscle Thing's claw, but this is a fantasy figure. It's a skeleton claw. They made him into a skeleton claw. Now this is Garbage Pail Kids. It's kind of a mashup. It's sort of like a glowing amber mashup with the punk rock hair. Made by Nolan JP. Cast by Eric Nia. Here's one of Eric Nia's first custom cheap toys. It's a fantasy figure. Sitting Atom Bomb. So we used to have a debate on GPK Underground back in the day. Why in the hell did the original creator of Atom Bomb cheap toy, why did they make him standing up? So what Eric did, and I really appreciate him for it, is he made him sitting down. So he took, remember we call this kit bashing, he took an original Atom Bomb, cut off the mushroom, sort of like Marmac did with my blue Novo Atom Bomb, and I guess he carved the legs, or made the legs, and then he redesigned the mushroom cloud, because another debate is why the mushroom cloud is so flat and plain like that. Not very 3D for something that should be 3D. So here, Eric made it thicker and made him, more importantly, sitting down. Sorry, it's backlit, so it's dark. It is what it is. So, again, these are fans. These are collectors like me and you who's using GPK material to make their own things, solving old problems, and just trying things out. This was by Eric Nia. He threw it in one of my packages one time. It's just a recast in, this is a recast. Here's one that Eric Nia sculpted. Grim Jim. For a long time, this was a pretty significant custom. Not so much now because, remember the danger. Topps can always come back and make the real thing, and they did. They made a Grim Jim mannequin after he made his Grim Jim. Sort of, eliminating this. I always thought the face was too long. The face isn't very Cabbage Patchy, but still a really good try. Obviously, the scythe is messed up. It was so thin. Remember, I told you that was a warning. When you're making sculptures, you're supposed to connect them to big forms, and you got to be smart about it, where how things are connected. If you're not smart about it, you can't grab this shit. You have shit like this. Now this he fixed it, right? This is slightly different. Than this one. So, but anyway, did he fix the face? Looks like he even fixed the face. Yeah. So this was one of his early ones. It's got its issues, yeah. But amazing. Don't you just really appreciate these people? Oh, that's really cool. I'm reading a few comments. I can actually see them today. Yeah, that's cool, Adam. I would love to see them. Oh, and there's another one of those claws. I just put them in. This was sort of my Eric Nia little box. That's why that was in there mixed up. All right, we're not done. We got more. All right, remember Nolan JP, right? Well, he also made... Now, okay, so Nolan, he doesn't make straight up cheap toys like characters. Like, he's not going to make, you know, a Stone Shawn by itself. He's going to add his own spin on it. Remember, Glowing Amber, instead of having a candle, has punk rock hair. So instead of, you know, Mark Pingator's, you know, or whoever, Jason character, he mashed it with Freddy. So, and he called it Jason Clawhees. So Nolan, he's a real artist. He's more of a sculptor than a caster, sort of like Uraeus. He enjoys making these more than actually, you know, pouring the rubber and casting them. He likes to just make sculptures. So amazing figure, super big though. You know, much bigger than a regular cheap toy, but really cool. And we should have more of his stuff coming up. Here we go. Here's Scary Larry. Glow in the dark. He's holding some Cabbage Patch Kid's arm there. You can see it's in this size. Now, what Nolan's most famous for, in my world, is Split Kit. Nolan is the creator of the Split Kit cheap toy. Here's one of his header cards. He worked with Eric Nia for a while. Yes. A stunning sculpt of Split Kit. Hand done, obviously, hand done. Then cast in a mold afterwards in all kinds of bright colors. Remember, when you have a mix, sometimes the prettiest ones were made by Muscle Things, like this one. Plus the rubber is different, just different. It looks softer, it's brighter. This is by Muscle Things. Yeah, so the thing is, I always felt that if someone had a really good toy, you should give it to Muscle Things to cast it. Imagine having a Roy Bot cast by Muscle Things. It would have been stunner, but he died. Now this was cast by Muscle Things. Wow. Forgot I had that. Yeah, you can see the blue is the same. This, look at the texture. Texture's bad. This was cast by Eric Nia. Yeah, it doesn't feel good in your hands. Guess who cast that? Stunning. Cast by Muscle Things. Miami Ice. Cast by Muscle Things. designed by Nolan JP. Now, sometimes Nolan would put them in these little display boxes, little custom GP display boxes. All right. All right, what about the customs from Buff Monster? Wow. Here's a Milty Misfits, oversized, by the way, Alice Island, and just the most fantastic color. I've only seen this character maybe twice ever in this size. It was a very limited release. This is definitely the best one I've seen. I love this rainbow. Really clean, clear colors. And then the one you see a lot of, not a lot of, or more of, is his double Heather Milty Misfits. Those are ice cream heads on them. See that? Did you catch that? See the ice cream head? And then he put them in these little header, cheap toy header cards. Got a date. That's cool. Oh, we learned that that was not made by Buff Monster, made by someone named Mitch Martinez. Have we ever reached out to this Mitch? That might be something fun to do tomorrow. These came with the characters. Which he threw these in with a lot of different things. Oh, and there's the header for that. Let's see, he called it a Jumbo Cheap Toy. Collect all 3. Ah. So it looks like there was a Graffiti Petey one and a double Heather extra big. Okay, cool. I'd like to track those down. If you ever see any, let me know, guys. I haven't seen them. I rarely see anything that's related to Buff Monster these days. All right, we're down to the last box, I believe. Yeah. Looks like we have some Uraeus. Yeah. Got some painted ones. Yeah, this is a miscellaneous little... I got this guy back 13 years ago. Now, before these big guys came along and started really making high-quality, cheap toys, you would see people, just random people, make copies. And here's a copy made in gray. Because we didn't have any gray cheap toys, so, you know, what would Atom Bomb look like in gray? So some guy would buy a kit. You can tell on the bottom that this is a fake. And they would cast them in random colors, just random people. We never had black cheap toys. So it was cool to see people try it out. You know, like, what would a black Alice Island look like? This is a horrible casting, missing the crown spikes. Bad foot on it, but is what it is. And you would just get these randomly in packages. A friend of mine, Barry Lake, the cheap toy hunter, painted some characters. Did a bad job. One time I randomly cleaned one off because I know there are real cheap toys under there. I can tell by the texture. And I got halfway through before I got bored. But it was a lime green Heather. He lives in Canada, so I'm always kind of curious if there's a Canadian variant under there. This was also by Barry. Just a guy like me and you, just trying to make something, just painting. Now this, no reason to take the paint off because you can tell it's a fake. So, might as well just leave them just like this. Now, the last two we'll look at. Hold on, there is something over here. Yeah, I bought this on eBay just a couple years ago. Kids of the Garbage, cheap shit toy. It's a kit bash random thing. He's trying to be Buff Monster, but he's not. Okay, cool. That'll leave us with these last two things. I'm going to take these out of the bag. These were made by Uraeus. So Uraeus sculpted this Roy bot. We already seen them, right? Then he cast it all by himself. Then he painted it. And then I fucking bought it. Holy fuck. Yeah, because there's always a question, you know, how good is Merry Christmas? Well, I've seen him painted and it's perfect. You wouldn't believe it. It looks just like the card. Seeing this sometimes is a little abstract, but then you see when they're painted, oh, that is really card accurate. So it's great to see them painted sometimes. It really brings them to life. Even this kind of sad example of Patty Putty, it's cool to see her, you know, at least with a little bit of color. It's like, oh, okay. And then the last one by Uraeus is one of his new ones. This was made during the pandemic, or slightly before the pandemic. In fact, I see a date on it. This was sculpted by Al, cast by Al, then hand painted by Al. This one I think really needed to be painted. You know, looking at this, it's got a few issues, but then seeing it with the paint, I don't think there's any issues. Holy shit. It's Joe Blow. Amazing. Well, guys, someone's at my door. I gotta go see who that is. We had a hellstorm the other day. It's probably somebody trying to sell me some service. But anyway, you'll have a good rest of your day. We're at the end anyway. It's been really fun. Look at the mess. This was my custom cheap toys collection. Tomorrow, we'll look at Series 2 cheap toys. Can't wait. Russ Fan out.